When you are ready to begin a stocktake in Oliver, navigate to Cataloging Stocktake. A list of all previous stocktakes are displayed on the page. We can see the name of the stocktake, the number of sections finalized out of the total number of sections in the stocktake, and the end date displays the finalized date of the most recently finalized section for the stocktake. For the purpose of this webinar, we'll perform another junior school stocktake. We can see that the 2017 junior school stocktake was started, but no sections were finalized. The last fully finalized junior school stocktake was completed in 2015. If we click on the number link to the left of the stocktake, we can see the sections that make up the stocktake and for which branch, collection, and classification range they were. When adding a new stocktake or stocktake section, you are able to select a previous stocktake for comparative reporting. As a general rule, if the past stocktake has not been finalized, don't use it. It is also definitely not recommended that you finalize that previous stocktake now, as it is likely to cause problems. To create a new stocktake, click the Start a New Stocktake icon or select New from the Stocktake drop-down menu. Give the stocktake a meaningful description, for example, 2021 Junior School Stocktake. You then have the option to set a default previous stocktake for the sections you create. I'll select the finalized 2015 stocktake. Next, you select whether you would like to automatically create sections based on the previous stocktake, or whether you would like to add sections yourself. If you'll be stocktaking the same sections as before, then this will save you from having to add each section manually. I'll leave Use Sections from Previous Stocktake set to Yes and click Add. There we have our 2021 Junior School Stocktake with a section for each collection that was included in the 2015 stocktake. Since that stocktake was completed, we have added a manga and graphic novels collection, as well as a library office collection. I'll add a section to the stocktake for these collections. If this was our first Oliver stocktake and we had no previous stocktakes to compare to or create sections from, this is how we would add the sections to our stocktake. Click the Add Section button. Select the relevant branch, in this case Junior. Select the collection, manga and graphic novels, and add the classification from and to range if necessary. I'll be stocktaking the entire collection, so I'll leave this range blank. As this is a new collection that was not part of the previous stocktake, I'll blank out the previous stocktake value for this section. I'll save to complete that entry. To add another section for the library office collection, click Stocktake to get back to stocktake level. Click the Add Section button, select the branch, select the collection. Again, I'll be stocktaking the entire library office collection, so I won't add a classification range. And I'll blank out the previous stocktake field and click Save. I'll click Stocktake to get back to stocktake level. Our stocktake is for the entire junior branch with a section for each collection. We could also have specified just one section for the junior branch, leaving collection and classification range blank. Or we could have created 9 different stocktakes with one section per collection in each. We recommend breaking the stocktake into manageable sections for an entire collection where possible. Once a stocktake section has been created, you can begin scanning or importing barcodes into it. Several staff can enter barcodes into that same section at the same time. Sometimes libraries split a section into classification ranges unnecessarily, as they don't realize that it's possible for library staff to scan into the same section at the same time. Before we scan any barcodes, I'm going to click the Process All button so that I can explain the stocktake section summary counts to you. At the moment, you'll notice that all the counts are 0. This is because the sections have not yet been processed. I'll click Process All. Each time you click Process to process a section, you are asked if you scanned the books in shelf order. We recommend you answering no to this question each time it is asked. This will avoid you getting messages about items being scanned out of order, that is, if copies are not shelved in strict shelf order by classification. Once processing is complete, the sections have a status of processed, and the section summary counts have been updated. As you go about your stocktake, you will regularly click Process to process a section, or Process All to process all sections. When you do this, the system performs some checks and calculations, and the stocktake summary counts and stocktake messages are updated. It is during a process action that the system checks for items that have been loaned or returned, or if copy details have been updated. So just having a look at those counts. The shelved OK copies are copies that have been scanned, and the branch, collection, and classification are correct for the stocktake section they have been scanned into. We've not yet scanned any barcodes, so the shelved OK count is 0 for each section. Off-shelf copies are copies that have a status rule that indicates that they are off-shelf. For example, copies that are on loan. The stocktake does not expect you to scan these copies into the section. Misshelved are copies that have been scanned into the section, but the branch, collection, and/or classification is not covered by the section. The misshelf count will also include copies that belong in the section, but have been scanned into a different section. Unscanned copies are copies that have not yet had their barcodes scanned into the section. You need to ensure you scan in as many of these copies into the stocktake as possible. Any items that are still unscanned when you finalize the section will be made missing. Missing or disposed copies are copies that are covered by the branch, collection, and classification range of the section that already have a status of missing or disposed, or have been weeded and purged since the previous stocktake. You do not need to worry about the items in this count. Simply click on the links if you'd like to see the items that make up the counts. There are two ways to enter barcodes into a stocktake section. You can wheel your laptop around the library and scan barcodes directly into the stocktake section, or you can scan barcodes into a text document and then import the file of barcodes. To scan barcodes directly into the section, click the number to the left of the relevant stocktake section, in this case manga and graphic novels, and then click the Scan Barcodes button. We can now scan the barcodes one at a time into the barcode box. As we scan, a stocktake item entry is created along with the stocktake message. If the auto return checkbox is ticked, then if any items I scan are currently on loan in the Oliver system, these will be returned and made available immediately. For example, I'll scan an on-loan item now. Note the message, shelved OK, returned, was on loan. The status of that item will now have been changed from on loan to available. This scenario could happen if an item was returned to the shelf without first being returned through the circulation desk. As we are scanning the items directly into the stocktake, we can be pretty sure that the copy is not on loan. So for direct scanning, it is a good idea to leave the auto return checkbox ticked. When you finish scanning barcodes, or if you need to take a break, click the finish icon. When we leave the Scan Barcodes section, we can see the section summary counts have been updated. We now have 3 shelved OK and 1 off-shelf item. As there are 0 unscanned items, we can consider this section done. We can process it and I can finalize it when I am ready. Click Stocktake to get back to Stocktake level. I'll scan barcodes to the Toys section. Click the number to the left of the section, click the Scan Barcodes button, and scan. Now we see a message, misshelved, wrong collection, junior, posters, 99MY. What's happened here is that we've scanned an item from the posters collection into a section that is for the toys collection. The advantage of direct scanning is that you can put the item aside to reshelve correctly at a convenient time or after the stocktake has been finalized. As far as completing the stocktake goes, you do not have to do anything about this misshelved message. I'll click Finish to exit the scanning screen and get back to the stocktake level. We'll take a look at misshelved items a bit more. Where the item has been scanned into the wrong section, in this case toys, we saw the message misshelved, wrong collection. If we look at the corresponding misshelved message from the posters section where the item belongs, it says misshelved was scanned in a different section, Junior Toys. You will note that the item, the read map of the Pacific, is not one of the unscanned items in the posters section. Although misshelved, it has been seen by the Stocktake. Provided the branch, collection, and classification of the misshelved item is covered by a section in the Stocktake, that item will be accounted for in the closing stock balance. If that item actually belongs in the toys section where it was scanned, then you should update the copy details to reflect this. It is also possible to import barcodes from a text file. This involves scanning barcodes for the section into a plain text document and then importing the barcodes into the section. On a Windows workstation, you can use a plain text file such as Notepad. On a Mac, you can use TextEdit. To open Notepad, click on the Windows Start button and then start typing the word Notepad. The Notepad application will appear and you can select it. I'll open an example barcode file I have already created using Notepad. You will need to be sure there is one barcode per line and that the cursor finishes up on the line below your last barcode. Then save the file to a location you know you'll find it again and give it a meaningful name. To import the file, click on the number to the left of the relevant section, in this case Library Office. Click the Import Barcodes button. Then decide whether or not to tick the Auto Return checkbox. If it has been some time since you scanned the barcodes to the file and there's a chance the barcodes may since have been loaned out, then don't tick this checkbox. Doing so will return the loans. If you have stopped circulating or you know that these items have not been loaned out since they were scanned, then tick the Auto Return checkbox. Browse to the file you need to load. Select the file and click the Upload button. The Stocktake section summary counts now show we have 21 items that are shelved OK and 2 misshelved items. If I click the link to view the misshelved items, I can see they belong in the reference section. The disadvantage to importing barcode files is that you would need to go back and locate these misshelved items if you wanted to shelve them correctly, unlike direct scanning where you see the message straight after scanning the book and you can put them aside. I'll process this section. Again, there is nothing left to scan in this section and we can finalize the section when we are ready. For the purpose of this webinar, I'm going to import Notepad files for the remaining sections. Now I'll click Process All to process the sections. We'll review the Junior Fiction Stocktake section as an example. 479 items are shelved OK, 28 items are still off shelf or on loan, and no further action is required here. There are 0 misshelved items, 11 items are unscanned, and we should try to locate these and scan them in. 6 items fall into the missing or disposed count. You can run a report of error copies for the section if you click on the number to the left of the Stocktake section, click the Error Copies button, then click the List button, and depending on the number of records there are, you may have to click a link to expand your search results. Then select Report. If you only want a list of unscanned items, you could run off a Stocktake Unscanned Items report. I'm after a report of all messages, so I'll leave the first Stocktake Catalog report selected and run that to Excel. Just taking a look at the errors here. The barcode not found error occurs if a barcode is scanned that is not present in your catalog. It may be that the item was never cataloged or that a weeded item has made its way back to the shelf. It could also be that the barcode did not scan correctly or the ISBN was scanned instead of the copy barcode. If you catalog these items now, you'll need to process the Stocktake section again before they'll be picked up by the Stocktake. The weeded before Stocktake was processed messages are items that were present in the closing stock of the previous Stocktake, but have since been weeded. You don't need to worry about these messages. The message, shelved OK, item status is on loan, is telling us the on loan item that was scanned into the Stocktake could not be returned. The status of the item is still on loan. This happens where there is a prompt of sorts that needs to be answered via the circulation desk. For example, the item may be reserved and require reservation processing. Unscanned items should be located and scanned in where possible. You can repeat the process of scanning barcodes into the Stocktake sections and processing the sections as many times as necessary. When you are satisfied that you've scanned as many copy records as possible, you are ready to finalize the Stocktake. However, before you finalize the Stocktake, we recommend that you run a Stocktake summary report. This will allow you to query any concerns you have before committing further changes to the database. To run the Stocktake summary report, you'll need to ensure that all sections have a status of processed. I'll click Process All so that I'm sure the figures reflect the latest processing. Then click the Summary Reports button. There are a number of Stocktake summary reports available that you can use to check the outcome of the Stocktake. The reports offer different levels of detail. If summary information is required at section level, then you can select one of the by section reports. If not, a Stocktake summary report covering the Stocktake as a whole can be selected. I run a Stocktake summary with cost report. Click on the report and click Go. At the top of the report, we can see that 0 of 9 sections have been finalized. The start and end date of the previous Stocktake are displayed. There is a start date for the current Stocktake, but no end date as we have not finalized any sections as yet. Otherwise, the end date of the most recently finalized section would be displayed. The opening stock figure is a count of items that are covered by the sections in the current Stocktake that were also counted in the closing stock of the previous Stocktake. The figure includes items that have been weeded or weeded and purged since the previous Stocktake, but these are deducted again in the disposed item count. The value will be 0 for a section if no previous Stocktake was selected. Additions are a count of items that have been accessioned since the previous Stocktake was processed. This figure includes copies that were already in the catalogue if they did not meet the criteria of any sections in the previous Stocktake, but have been changed so that they do now. For example, we added the Library Officer manga and graphic novels collections to the 2021 Stocktake. If the copies were already in the catalogue during the 2015 Stocktake, but the collections were simply not included in that Stocktake, then the copies will form part of the additions figure in this report. Items recovered are a count of items that had a status of missing or disposed during the previous Stocktake, but were found and scanned during this Stocktake. It also includes items that have been restored from archives since the previous Stocktake. Items missing for period include items with a status that has changed to missing since the previous Stocktake was finalized. This figure includes items that are unscanned in the current Stocktake that will be made missing when the section is finalized. Disposed items include items that are in the opening stock or have been added since the previous Stocktake was finalized, but have subsequently had their status changed to disposed or have been weeded. Items we saw earlier with the Stocktake message of weeded before the Stocktake was processed will be included in the disposed count. The closing stock is simply the opening stock plus net additions less net deductions. The cost and price values in the report are only reliable if these figures have been consistently added to the copies in your Oliver system. If you would like to check which copies make up the different figures in the Stocktake summary report, you can run a Stocktake summary with items report. To do that, click the Summary Reports button, select Stocktake summary with items, and you can run that report. Because the report includes items, it can be quite large, so I'll perform a search for the missing items section. You can finalize the Stocktake sections as you go. For example, if you have completed the LibreOffice section, you can finalize that section only by clicking on the number to the left of the section and then clicking the Finalize button at section level. Or if you'd like to wait until you've completed all sections, you can click the Finalize All button at Stocktake level. Only sections with a section status of processed will be submitted for finalization. I'll click Finalize All. After clicking Finalize All, we can see that the sections now have a status of submitted. The finalize process does not happen immediately. As it is a resource-intensive process, it is scheduled for the next housekeeping run. If you have clicked Finalize in error, or if you change your mind about finalizing, you have until the next housekeeping run to cancel pending finalizations by clicking the Cancel All Pending Finalizations button on the Stocktake Details page, or clicking Cancel Pending Finalization on the Stocktake Section Details page. For the purpose of the webinar, I'll run the Stocktake Finalize process now. Once the housekeeping is run, all the submitted Stocktake sections will have a status of finalized. You can then rerun the Stocktake summary report for completion. I'll run the Stocktake summary report with cost again. The report now displays that 9 of 9 sections have been finalized, and where there was no end date before, there is now an end date on the report for the current Stocktake. Although you can and should run the Stocktake summary reports prior to finalizing the Stocktake, it is important that you finalize the Stocktake once it is complete. This will ensure a reliable dataset for future Stocktake comparisons.